Revolution Radio proudly presents, live from the heart of the Blue Ridge, Roanoke, Virginia. It's the Just Bernard Show with host Bernard Alvarez. Join Bernard as he shares topics that reveal the real matrix and empower your human experience, including world liberty, the esoteric, suppressed technologies, spiritual ascension, and human consciousness. Humanity has awakened, and our time has come to realize our full potential. And now, live from the Star City, your host, Bernard Alvarez.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to the Just Bernard Show here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I am back. Yes, I missed you guys. I was off last week. I had a special event to go to, and I'll talk about that in just one moment. But before I do that, let me welcome my co-host and co-producer over at BernardAlvarez.com, Treva Linott, is joining me live from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Hi, Treva. How are you?
Hello. I missed you last week.
Yes, totally missed you. It's so good to hear your voice again. My goodness. Mm-hmm. How's the last 2 weeks been? It feels like we've been out of touch for a while.
Oh, Canada-wise, I'm not sure. It kind of feels like everything's in like upheaval mode over here with the whole Bill C-51 scandal with the Conservatives and the government versus their. I guess they're apologizing for like all the residential schools cultural genocide that it's being called, and there's a lot of
right.
Canada's a very emotional place the past couple weeks.
Well, that makes sense. I've been seeing and following some of what's been going on there, and it's really a shame what's happening with that Bill C-51. But hopefully, you guys will rein it in. It hasn't passed yet, has it? Or
it was delayed last week, and I think the final vote was delayed until this afternoon sometime. I'm not quite sure what time.
Well, I'll definitely have to keep an eye on that then, absolutely. Anyway, as far as why I wasn't here last week, I just want to share this because I thought it was really cool, and it was actually quite an honor. Who would have thought that me, Mr. Activist, Mr. Anti-Corporate Government, Mr. Truther, don't want to have anything to do with these people, and actually I never vote for Democrats or Republicans, but I was actually invited to the governor of Virginia's mansion last week as an activist. But, as an activist, I have a huge, repertoire. And, of course, one of them being, LGBT rights. And with all the stuff that's been going on here in Virginia with marriage equality just passing and whatnot, the governor invited a bunch of LGBT community leaders and or activists. And being that I am on the board of directors of the Roanoke Diversity Center here, several members of our board got to go, and it was kind of funny. The governor was pretty cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't trust him with as far as I could throw him. Pretty nice guy. He ended up getting a little tipsy by the end, and I liked his comment. I think one of the last things he said, I think this is the first time we've had a drag queen in the Capitol mansion. And yes, Miss Virginia drag pageant winner was there or something like that. But very interesting. And it was not, if anything, it was really cool to go to Richmond. I've never been to Richmond before, to see all the history, lots of, statues and monuments, and got to see the hub, a very historical area. And I have to admit, he threw a pretty good party. It was an open bar, lots of great food, and he was playing 80s music. I was like, he's doing this for the LGBT folks, isn't he? But it was pretty cool. We had a really good time, and who would have thought, me, Mr. Big Mouth, would be at the hanging out at the governor's mansion. But I had a great time, and that's why I wasn't here last week. I hope the show went well. I didn't really get to hear who did it or who filled in or if they played a pre-recording. But thank you very, very much to Revolution Radio for being so helpful and making it easy for me to take a day off like that. I really, far and few in between will I miss one of my radio broadcasts. I think the last time was when Cox like knocked out the internet for the whole block. For it was like in the middle of a broadcast or something. But anyway, so without further ado, let me talk to you a little bit about my guest today. Today's show, we are focusing on holistic energy healing. And Chris Kehler is a friend, and he's been on the show several times. For those of you that don't know about his work, he provides an alternative to mainstream Western practices. He works intuitively with modalities such as dowsing, metaphysical tools, radionics, and quantum touch. And he's got quite a lot of new stuff going on. So we're very glad to welcome Chris Kehler, who is also joining us live from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Welcome to the show, Chris. How are you today?
Yay, Winnipeg! I'm doing great, Bernard. Thank you for having me on again. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm so glad we got to get you in today, and thank you again for allowing me to reschedule your show because you were supposed to be on last week. So I'm glad this worked out for both of us. So, Chris, first of all, I want to just let everybody know also that you now have a radio show as well, correct?
Yes, I'm on the Pyramid One Network, and my show is called A Quantum View with Chris Kehler, and we do guests on every second show, and every second show is a healing program where I run energies, and people can call in, and we can do healings on them. So it's a fun show, and we get lots done, and we get to talk about all the new things that come up within healing, and we talk about different subjects, and just as you do on a grand scale that the mainstream radio just does not dare touch.
Yeah, you can say that again. So, Chris, tell me a little bit about what's been going on. I know you've got a lot of new programs going on as far as a new healing program, and just so much going on in the world. Where would you like to start today?
Well, the healing work that I do, and I think when healing comes into play, people don't quite understand it. People know that there is this spiritual healing that can be done, but again, people are just not quite understanding it, or people doing it just don't know quite how to explain it. What I've been doing is coming up with ways to explain how it works, to explain what's happening in your body, to get very deep into what is actually causing the health problem as far as depression, as far as addictions, as far as pain in your body, all these different things. And we work on everything, you name it. And within the system that I developed, we can work on it and explain exactly what it is. Instead of just being very vague and saying, oh, we removed a big entity, I can get very deep into telling you exactly what that entity is, what he was doing, why he was there, and so forth. So what I've done is developed a course that people can take. It's not so much a course, but it's more so the work that I've developed within the dowsing charts that I have, within the tools that I use, and with my knowledge. You want to buy it, I will teach you how to do my work. And it has been very successful lately. And we're getting very deep into what is causing a lot of the big chronic health problems within people. The latest thing is working with rheumatoid arthritis, which many people have, and that is a stiffness within the joints and muscles. So we've been getting extremely deep into the whole aspect, spiritually, energetically, and physically, to the whole issue. So I'm offering this course. I'm getting a new website developed right now. We're just starting to code it today. So the course will be on my new website right now. If somebody wants to ask questions and order it, you can go onto my old website or my current website, send me an email or give me a call, and I will answer any questions you have, and we'll get you set up with it.
Oh, that sounds great. I can't help but I feel a little bit of, I guess for me, my mind is interpreting it that the way that you're approaching it is very similar to how shamans are approaching it, very much about full integration of body and spirit and removing any kind of negative entities or traumas or anything like that. Is that a part of what you're doing?
It is along that lines. For me, I don't use the word shaman.
Right.
For me, that's a word that has many different meanings to it. For example, I do remove a lot of shamanic curses within people. So you know, of course, the work that I do is I consider it white magic, and people can take the exact same work I do and use it for a dark purpose, or black magic. So it doesn't mean that a shaman is a bad person. It means that a shaman can actually do bad things to you. They can send curses and spells and cause problems within you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But the philosophy as far as integration is, I guess it's pretty close.
It is pretty close, and for the most part, almost any and all types of energy healing falls under that, where some may just focus specifically on the spiritual component. Mine digs into the spiritual component and also digs deep into the physical component, which can be at times a lot more intricate and at times can be extremely simple.
Right. So let's dig into some of the things that are going on with that can be going on with some of us that are listening. I myself, I remember in my 20s, I would probably say my mid 20s to my mid 30s, I ended up having what was called a parasite stuck in my energy body, and a lot of weird, nasty things were happening to me. Can you tell us a little bit about what is the relationship between parasites and dark energy activity?
Well, parasites themselves, there is a couple different forms, and there is the energy parasite, which you just spoke about, and the energy parasite is something that feeds off of the energy within your body, within your etheric bodies, within your soul, within your spirit, everything about you. It'll feed off of those energies, and the one energy that it really does like is fear. Fear is a big fat cheeseburger for these etheric parasites, it's called. Generally, they are reptilian in origin. Our bodies are created in almost a mirror image of a reptilian itself. We are part reptilian, and that's one of the reasons why we're here. And there are parasites that'll feed off of that energy. They also feed off of hate, anger, and all these things that are created within the mainstream news that we all watch, and we all are in aghast of what is going on, and we create fear because of all the things that we see. So fear is a very big aspect of these parasites, and they can be put in for various reasons. They can be put in to implant energies. They can be put in to take energies. They can program viruses within us. There's so many things that they can do on that level. Now, there's also the organic parasite, which is your tapeworms, roundworms, hookworms, and that type of thing, which they can also be controlled by these outside sources. So if somebody has a parasitic infection within their brain and nowhere else, well, there is some type of consciousness that is drawing these parasites to your brain to cause a problem there.
Okay. And so, as far as like dark energy, do they basically feed off of it? How do we end up with them? How do people end up with these energetic parasites, or organic parasites?
Well, ultimately, you have to. It goes back to understanding why we are here. Why are we on this planet as a human? Why are we doing what we're doing? And one of the reasons is as an energy food source for the reptilians, for the gray aliens, for all the different races of beings that are out there. They do feed off of our energy. And another reason why we are here is for the same beings. We're here for them to do experiments on. Okay, we are rats in a cage for the most part. And by us being here for them, that they are inflicting illness on us to see what happens. They're making changes to our codes in our DNA. All these different types of things are going on. The same thing that we're doing with chimpanzees and rats, we're checking their DNA. As above, so below. Always remember that whatever's going on this planet with humanity is happening at other levels in the universe and other dimensions. So that is one of the broad aspects as to why we are here. Okay. Now, the whole fifth dimension consciousness shift, the age of Aquarius, whatever you want to call it, that is approaching very, very quickly. is all about these beings leaving us alone. We're going to be able to live in peace without any kind of outside influences misleading us in direction, affecting our thoughts, affecting our health, and affecting our governments and civilization.
And it's beautiful, and we all seem to be getting a glimpse of this little by little around the world. So I'm very grateful that you brought that up, because it's over. It's gonna be over soon.
The big question is when. That's the big question everybody asks. And what I tell people to do is watch for all of the alignments, all of the eclipses that are happening, all of the different geometry lineups within the planets. There's all these different planets opposing each other, and Mercury in retrograde, the whole bit. Planetary alignment is very big. Right. The solstices are especially big. The last solstice we went through, it was the spring solstice. It was a full solar eclipse. It was a supermoon, all in one big package. That was a big ball of energy that came rolling down the hill, and it knocked out a lot of dark energy component out of the planet and out of humanity, which created a very big, what we call a shift. And in another couple of weeks or so is the summer solstice, yep. June 20th. So that, again, is going to bring in another set of changes, removing a lot of the witchcraft component within the planet. So if you're a witch and you're listening to this show, well, say goodbye to your energy, because it's going to leave. So that is going to create a higher resonance, a vibration of energy within humanity and the planet, which what I see within my work is, I like to call it proof in the pudding. Because when I'm working with people with specific disease and illness, I'm finding it is a lot easier to get in and to make the changes. Things aren't so difficult anymore. So that's one way that I can tell that things are changing.
Well, I have a question for you now, because I'm a witch. So does that mean that all the positive white light work that I'm doing I'm gonna lose all that power?
Absolutely not, Bernard. Now, of course, as I said, that there is white magic, there is black magic. If you're doing forms of witchcraft, now I could be looked upon as a witch, I could be looked upon as a shaman, I could be looked upon as a wizard, a sorcerer. There's all these different terms that get thrown around. So if you're doing work for the love and the light, for God, for love and light, then you're perfectly safe. Anything that you're working in the satanic realm, in the dark realms, that is where people are going to find some changes.
Yeah, and I've been seeing that happening quite a bit, and it seems to be happening throughout our governments and a lot of other avenues. So that's a very good thing to hear. Now we've got about 10 minutes left on this particular segment, but I want to ask you, with all of the negative energies that might be, clinging on to us. I like the word Klingon, and not because I like Star Trek, but little energetic Klingons that have been just like, through, whether it be through crisis or trauma, or whether it be a parasite or whatnot. What are some of the popular clearing removal techniques that you've been using?
There's actually, a few really good ones that work well. One of them is one of the energy tools that I carry in my clinic. It's called a neutralization ring, and it helps to move off all the little clingies off the outside and different areas of the aura, and it helps to just clear things up a little bit. One other method that I've developed is called, I call it the violet scepter. And the way this works is very very unique. Is you stand straight up, stand tall, and in your right hand you envision that you're holding a 6-foot tall scepter. Okay, scepter is made of gold and copper, and on the top of that scepter is burning a violet flame. A lot of people who work within the energy realms work with the violet flame, but the violet scepter is a little different. So what you do is you stand, and I'm going to do this myself. You stand up nice and tall. Hold the violet scepter in your right hand, and you just say the words out loud, violet scepter, and then you bang it on the floor 3 times, and if you're energetically sensitive, you're going to feel all kinds of stuff scattered off of your body. So that's I've been teaching a lot of people to do that. It's very simple, and it does work. If you are energetically sensitive, you'll feel something come flying off.
I love that. It sounds very similar to a technique that I was taught back in the 90s from a white a white magic order, and it was the violet. I don't want to say it was the violet flame. I forgot what they called the violet laser or something, and it was very similar. We visualized bringing a purple violet laser into the center of the room, clapping our hands and watching the light just explode around us, and it worked very, very well as well as I guess as well as what you're saying. That's wonderful. I love the similarities. I love that.
Yeah, the unique thing is the violet flame is very predominant, and when people use the same type of energy, it resonates with you, saying, okay, you know what, when you're trying to visualize something, it doesn't matter what you're using, as long as you can visualize it and make the intent for whatever you're visualizing to do something. That's what it comes down to. And as humans, we need to be able to wrap our heads around something or visualize it or say, okay, I can understand that. I can see what it's doing. So it is just basically a tool for us to visualize a clearing.
Now, have you created a physical violet scepter yet, or is that something in the making? That would be very cool.
I did. My wife and I went out for Halloween last Halloween, and I called myself the Violet Wizard. Okay, and I did take a big chunk of selenite, and I put it on a copper staff, and I decorated it up, and it wasn't a violet scepter. It was more. I had a bit of a different energy. When I clanked it on the ground, it didn't really do much. But if I pointed it at somebody and made an intent, somebody could feel some energy. So, it's just as easy to visualize something and call on that energy as it is to physically build something. The tools that I use, one tool is called a neutralization ring. And what I can do is, instead of taking the ring and people stand over it to pull the negative energy off, if I just intend that negative energy, a neutralization ring is on the floor between a person's feet, they can feel the same energy happening. So intent is very strong within this type of work. It is all about intent. It's all about visualization, making the intent, and causing an effect.
Exactly. Absolutely. That sounds great. Are you working with any other type of techniques as far as like a general clearing? Can people do like a clearing of their home as well as their body with this?
Oh, anything and everything can be cleared. Everything has energy. Everything has vibration. So you're working at the quantum level on a chair, on a desk, on a floor, on a basement. I do clear homes of negative energies, and generally is going to be vortexes of a negative energy coming up from lower dimensions, the first and second dimensions particularly. And by closing those off, all of a sudden our room feels lighter. So quite often your health problem is because you're in a home that has a negative vortex or some type of portal, possibly a stargate within it that needs to be closed down.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I've been hearing a lot about that lately, about location and activity within the home, the location of the home, the activity, the energetic activity within the home. Anything from what is it? Underground water systems can affect it, as well as the electromagnetic stuff going on with all electronics in the house as well.
Well, there's one thing that, sorry to cut you off.
No, go on.
There's one thing that I have been showing people, and I've done it myself, is the electricity that is in your house. Okay, we're going to call it dirty electricity, but ultimately, if there is a receptacle that doesn't have anything plugged into it, it doesn't mean that the electricity is not coming out. There is residual of electricity coming out, and if your body is not grounded, if you're not grounded to the earth, that electricity is going to build up a static charge within your body, and that could cause things like fibromyalgia. It could cause rages. When it builds up, your body goes into a bit of a rage, and all of a sudden you got to release it somehow, and you can release it through anger. Okay. Now, what you can do, and when people do this, they actually feel a change in the energy in the room, and you can actually feel a pulsing within the wall where the electrical outlet is. You take off that little plastic cover, and you buy some tiny little neodymium rare earth magnets, and you put that within the electrical box. and all of a sudden it stops all the electricity from coming out. It creates a magnetic current around it as almost like a magnetic field to keep the electricity in, and you will actually feel a tiny pulsing in the wall that'll slowly go away, and things will go back into the electrical system. And that helps a lot of people with sleep problems, fibromyalgias, different pains. It helps with brain fog, a lot of different things that the stray electricity can cause.
That's very, very interesting. I have to look into more of that because I do have a lot of open sockets around here. And it's true. I can actually sense when I'm sitting at my desk for so long, because I guess my my Wi-Fi is close to my desk. I feel so much better. People think I'm joking when I say anything to get away from my desk. When I'm done, I'm done. Why don't I carry an iPhone? Because I don't want to, deal with that energy. But there is something to be said for that. Absolutely. And I think that grounding has a very big part of it, and being grounded while you're around that type of energy is very important because
right now people everybody wonders about grounding. Of course, we know that if you go hug a tree or if you're walking barefoot, you're going to ground to the earth. But there's another type of ground that you need to be aware of. It's called the vivaxis. And the vivaxis is an energy ground that starts at the root chakra, goes through the zero chakra, which is a foot below your feet, and it attaches to the core of the earth. That is a ground that is very, very important. Dr. Judy Jacka actually wrote a book about it, and I don't read anything. I don't follow anybody else's philosophies. I don't read anybody else's books. This is one book I did read, and it was a very, very big help within the work that I'm doing. So, and here again, you can simply intend to connect your vivaxis connection at the root chakra through the ground chakra into the core of the earth, and it will happen. All of a sudden, you might feel some changes within the way you feel.
Yeah, absolutely, and I definitely recommend everybody do that. If not daily, at least a couple times a week. Very important, very important. It's interesting. I when I'm working, I have to work barefoot, and my feet have to be flat on the ground for that very reason. I need to feel that connection to the Earth's core. But we'll be taking a short break now. We'll be right back with Chris Kehler after this message.
And now, back to your host, Bernard Alvarez.
And welcome back to the Just Bernard Show here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We are having a very interesting discussion today with holistic energy healer Chris Kehler, who is joining us for the hour. Chris, I have a question for you because I get this question a lot, and I'm wondering what your perspective of it is, because we were talking earlier on these energy parasites and these dark energy Klingons that I call, and how they feed off fear, they feed off depression, and they feed off all of this. But you and I, we both we use different modalities, but we are both involved in the same type of work, and we have to see the things that go on in the world. A good example is a lot of people are concerned about dark transdimensional entities, or the dark workers of the global elite and whatnot, feeding off our energy and whatnot. I'm constantly getting articles sent to me about a false flag attack or FEMA camps, or all this. I don't like to use the word conspiracy, but alternative underlying cloak and dagger type of information, and that can be very disconcerting. And I was one of those people in the beginning where I did have a lot of fear because of this, but I've transcended beyond it. What do you say to those that are stuck within this fear of a false flag or the FEMA camps, or what is it right now, the Jade Helm situation, or that are living fear? Is there a way, when you're stuck in that, is there a way to get rid of the entity, or do we have to shift our consciousness completely?
Well, of course, there are things you can do. Now, you just mentioned that whole Jade Helm thing, and on my Skype is Captain Max Steele.
Yeah, I'm looking at the same thing. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, he sends me stuff all the time, and I say, "Oh, come on, give me a break." Okay, the whole conspiracy aspect of reality is all fear-based. Everything conspiracy is fear-based. If you believe it, you've got fear. I have many people who are freaking out, getting ready to jump off a roof because of all the fear within the conspiracy. Where do you think the conspiracy comes from? It's created by the governments. It's created by all of the forces that want us to live in fear. Okay? Just release the fear. A lot of people ask me, how come I don't get jumped by a lot of the entities that I pull out? I pull out the devil and Satan out of people every day. Okay, day in and day out. I pull it out and make changes. I pull out Lucifer, all these different entities, and I've even found ones that nobody even knows about. And people ask me, how come I don't get jumped? It's because I don't fear them.
Right.
If you have no fear, there's nothing they're going to latch onto. So now, how do you get rid of the fear? I mean, that is, of course, easier said than done. But by removing all of the dark entities within you that are living off of the fear, now fear has nothing to grasp onto. You can stop watching the news. You can stop living in a fear-based society. If you hang around with people that are always talking about fear and conspiracy, well, you might want to consider who you have as friends and start distancing yourself from these types of things. But ultimately, it's realizing that there is no such thing as fear. What do we fear? We fear the unknown. The unknown, you can change the unknown with your thoughts. You can make it a good place to be. So, there is a lot that can go along with removing fear from people. Working in the soul is one thing I do very often. But ultimately, it's just removing all of the negative component that is bringing in the fear, that is causing the fear. One big aspect about fear is the sympathetic nervous system. That is our fight or flight system. When that is activated, we're always looking around. We're always looking for a way out. We're always in hyper mode and in fear mode. Once you shut down the sympathetic nervous system, remove all of the negativity out of there, then people can relax and be calm. When you take a deep breath, you actually feel calmer. So that is one general aspect I work in. The whole soul concept. Where is your soul? Okay, where are pieces of your soul bringing in fear? So a lot of different aspects you have to look at, and everybody is different. Not everyone is the same. So there are lots of things that can be done. It's just a matter of sitting down with the right person who can figure all this out and smooth out the water for you.
Yeah. And I really like what you said, that fear is a choice, and it's a state of consciousness. And while we do have that fight or flight for a reason, that is usually they're very far and few in between. It actually has to be activated, but we allow it. And this goes on to my next question, because I wonder if this has anything to do with it, and that is the law of consent. What is the law of consent?
The law of consent is very basic, and a lot of people don't realize it. Now, let's put it in two different concepts. If a police officer walks up to you on the street and says, "May I have your ID?" you can say to him, "I do not consent to search or seizure," and he has to leave you alone. Okay? That's the law. If you say, "I do not consent," if you don't say, "I do not consent," that means you're giving consent. So within the spiritual energetic realm, if you put out the permanent energy and intent of not giving consent, then these entities aren't allowed in. Now, there are tricky bastards, okay? There's no other way to put it.
Right.
Now, when you're on your computer and a program comes up and you click yes, well, you just gave consent. You just said yes.
Yep.
If all of a sudden you're sitting there for no reason, you kind of nod your head, you just said yes. And what they'll do is they'll copy and paste that yes answer and use it wherever they feel is necessary. So, if you make the conscious intent to not give consent in any way, shape, or form unless you physically say it, then they have to leave you alone. You have to set up ground rules. You have to set up boundaries. You have to understand exactly what is going on here within the universe, because they are sneaky, and they want to find ways to get into you, to use your energy, to get into your DNA, to find whatever, to use whatever. They're so crafty.
You know, and actually that reminds me of a talk that I gave the other day of the reactive mind, and for me it's the reactive mind that gets manipulated into this consent that we're talking about. Because if we are conscious, like you said, if you're conscious of what is happening, and you are consciously aware of what you're giving consent to, you're being more proactive, you're living more proactively, and therefore you're not going to be so easily manipulated into allowing the sphere in or allowing this entity in and whatnot. But again, that's just my observation on it. I wanted to ask you, the next question I wanted to ask you, and thank you for answering the law of consent. I'm very interested on what your take is on the idea that video games and or even your iPhone is taking your soul. What do you mean by that?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's an interesting concept. And of course, within the work I'm doing, I'm always getting new information from my guides, from Love and Light, where I work. And if you look at, I work on a lot of children through their mothers as surrogate, because of course mothers are concerned about their kids, how addicted they are to certain video games and addicted they are to certain TV shows and that type of thing. Now, of course, I mean, we all know and have heard that there are programs and subliminal messaging within different video and different mediums like that. So let's take, for instance, you are addicted to playing the game Minecraft, one of the biggest games out there. Mm-hmm. What is happening is that this video game is got programs within it that are taking pieces of your soul. Okay, now your body wants to be close to your soul, so of course, if it has your soul, you're always going to be playing this game so you can be connected to your soul. Okay, that is that aspect of addiction to it. A piece of your soul could be within a whiskey bottle, okay? Mm-hmm. And every whiskey bottle on the planet has got your soul in it, and you need to be close to that, so you're always going to be there. You're always going to be drinking it. So that's kind of one of the concepts I work on. I mean, of course, it's all about visualization and trying to put two and two together. But if you start to realize and work within the consideration that our bodies are biocomputers, okay, there are programs within us. There's programs within the video. There's programs within the internet that will draw you in, that will attach to you, that will start to run a sub-program within your body. It gets very, very deep and in a way mystical, but you have to think that way. You have to look that way so you can try to understand what is causing a problem. So I've retrieved children's souls from these video games. All of a sudden, they put down the iPad and they go out and play. So again, within my work, proof is in the pudding. You make the change. All of a sudden, mom says, "Hey, you know what? Kid is different."
Wow, isn't that fascinating? I wish we could do that for everyone in the world. The way we're going right now, it really frustrates me as far as the work that I do. I mean, I deal more with consciousness, but for me, consciousness is what you give your attention to. And when you're giving your attention to, media and video games and iPhones and Snapchats and, all this stuff, where's your focus, and it again brings me back to that reactive thing. They're reacting to what they're seeing on the video game and can be easily sucked into, giving permission to lose a piece of themselves.
Sure, and it also goes into the whole realm of the whole MyLab and the Super Soldier program that is going on. I work a lot within there, and if you're playing video games that are army games and combat games, while you are participating on another planet in another dimension in a war. So if you're addicted to those, I mean, it goes on and on and on with the scenario of the biocomputer interacting with the virtual computer in front of us.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, so what is your take on what's going on with soul disconnections in people?
There's a few different things. Here's one scenario that I've come up with and have actually proven within my work: concussions. Now, you look at a lot of professional hockey players, football players, in Canada, lacrosse players. Ha ha. Anyways, if you take a blow to the head many times, now the soul is located in the hippocampus within your brain, and there's an area called the well of souls, which is in the parietal occipital lobe at the base of the skull. When you take a blow to a head, to your head, this will disconnect the soul from the well of souls. And it can also go as far as disconnecting you from your soul. Doesn't mean your soul is gone. It means you're not connected to it. And this causes depression. So if you look at all these professional sports players who are, daily getting blows to the head, and many of them are committing suicide, they're committing suicide out of depression. And that's what's happening. I worked on an 11-year-old boy in Calgary who got a concussion in a hockey game. He was in the hospital for a week, just kind of in space. I worked with him once, reconnected his soul, and the next day the doctor's like, whoa, what happened to you? So right there was the proof in the pudding. And that's what I've been doing with a lot of people. If people call in with depression and anxiety, I will, find out why the soul was disconnected, put it all back together, and again, it's just making the intent to connect it all back. And then all of a sudden, in a day or so, they feel a lot better. They feel lighter. They feel a weight has been taken off, and more joy starts to come in. So it is something that does work. If you're an energy worker, try it. It will work.
Oh wow, that's very interesting. I'm gonna have to try that. I seem to. It seems that a lot of us don't really even talk about the soul that much anymore. Perhaps within the consciousness world, I think we talk more about spirit, energy. We really don't connect with the concept of soul that much anymore. And I'm glad you're bringing this up. You've reawakened my a little more of a connection to my soul. So that's awesome. What are some of the new ways that you're discovering, Chris, for us to energetically protect ourselves?
Protection. A lot of people do ask me about that. One of the newest ways I found, of course I've talked about the violet scepter and the neutralization ring for clearing stuff, but to protect. Now, if you consider that we have a magnetic field around us, that magnetic field is a barrier of protection, just as the magnetic field around the Earth protects us from solar flares and magnetic disturbances from the sun. So what I do is I make the intent to increase and top up all of the magnetic minerals within the body, such as neodymium. I even use hematite. All the different magnetic minerals will build a stronger magnetic field around us for protection. That is one of them. There's also things that you can intend, that you can visualize. Let's call it almost a fantasy level. So there's something I use called Malic armor. If you intend Malic armor as a blanket of Malic armor around somebody, that will protect them. Malic armor is the softness of silk, but it's the hardness of a dragon scale. And this was developed by a colleague of mine in Washington, Ryan Stallman. Very, very intelligent young man. This guy's got a lot going on. There's also another protection that he has made into a pendant using white powder gold, monatomic Ormus gold. So those are some things that work really well. Shungite will work as a protector against EMS and ELS, but ultimately the intent to increase the magnetic minerals works very, very well. So and anybody can do that. You just state the intent, increase and top up the magnetic minerals within my aura, within my body, within my chakra system for protection, and it will happen.
I like it. I'm going to have to try that one too. I better start writing all this down. So, Chris, we've got about 5 minutes left here. Do you think you would have enough time here to do some on-air quantum energy healing for listeners?
Yeah. Now there's something new that I'm using, and it's called true. Whenever you say, let's say, an area of the body and say the word true after it, What it does is it takes that area of the body and it puts it into the true love and light outside of this time matrix. Let's do something for everybody. And then you're going to love this, Bernard. Okay, listen. Within everyone listening, soul true. Soul true. Soul true. Okay, that has been done. Now, you tell me what you felt.
Lighter and more awake, absolutely.
Look at that. Now, if you take an area of your body that's low in vibration, that is not doing well, let's do another one. Here we go. Consciousness, true. Consciousness, true. Consciousness, true. And how's that one?
My ears popped. But I think it's because I'm having problems with balance, and that might have something to do with that.
It could be a little water buildup. Now, if you take that to different levels and you say words like atoms, true atoms in your body, that has different connotations to it. So what I do when I'm having a session with somebody, I will say session true. That takes a whole session, puts it into the true love and light where there's no disturbances, where there's no dark energy, so we can actually do deeper, faster, clearer healings.
Talk about energetically powerful. Just the word alone is very powerful.
The word now, the course that I had is called True Quantum Healing.
Ah, okay. Very good. Very good. And for those that may not understand what quantum healing is, how would you define quantum healing?
Quantum healing is utilizing and understanding the quantum energy that is available for us to use. Some people call it the law of attraction. Some people call it, God's will. There's so many ways to look at it. Ultimately, what we believe is as God is actually the quantum energy. It's the true love and the true light. That is the definition of spirituality, love. So if you're using love energy, true love, true light, that brings us to a higher level of vibration, which works at a much deeper level. Instead of if you use love and light is one thing, true love and true light is a much higher vibration of it. So it's understanding exactly what it is. I mean, when we're praying to God, what God are you praying to? There's so many different gods out there. All the demigods, the Greek gods, the Egyptian gods, and I'm removing those from people every day. Medusa is a big one that causes a lot of rheumatoid arthritis. So you have to discern from those. Love and light is not a god. You do not bow down to it. You do not make sacrifices to it. It is there for you to use, to call on, to ask for help, to get you through life. So I just look at it as love and light. True love, true light.
I love it. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Chris. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but before we go, I want to ask you, people who are listening, they can call you and just make an appointment and get a healing from you via Skype or...
Absolutely. All of my clients are all over the world. I've got worldwide clientele. Go to my website, chriskehler.net. You can book an appointment. You can access my email and send me an email. Ask me any question you want. I'm here from you. My sessions are only $60 a session. Very inexpensive.
Wow, wonderful.
You know what? I don't need to make a lot of money because we do lots of good work and we have a full schedule. So if you can do the math, you can see that the things are going quite well.
Wonderful.
Any problem you have, let me know. I can help you with it.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, and I really appreciate it. To let everybody know, it looks like it's another Canada week here at the Just Bernard Show. Next week, our old friend Miriam Delicato is going to be joining us live from Vancouver. It's Canada month here. Anyway, I look forward to speaking to her. It's been quite a while since we've had her on the show. If you remember, she is the contactee with the tall blondes. It should be very, very interesting. And again, make sure to catch my new video series, Activate, every Sunday at BernardAlvarez.com. Have a wonderful week, everybody. We love you very much. Bye-bye.
Revolution Radio proudly presents, live from the heart of the Blue Ridge, Roanoke, Virginia. It's the Just Bernard Show with host Bernard Alvarez. Join Bernard as he shares topics that reveal the real matrix and empower your human experience, including world liberty, the esoteric, suppressed technologies, spiritual ascension, and human consciousness. Humanity has awakened, and our time has come to realize our full potential. And now, live from the Star City, your host, Bernard Alvarez.